Okay, video update of what I've been reading. We are vlogging in the car today because I've just been so slammed. I haven't had a chance to really video at home. I don't really have a setup yet. Just moved to Tampa recently and we're still figuring all that out. But I started last week Clariel, which is the fourth book of the Abhorsen series, and I really like it. I read it once before in like 2015 according to Goodreads, and I do not remember any of it at all from 2015, but I started reading it. I really like the vibe for this one. It doesn't actually follow the person who is the Abhorsen, but it follows it's 600 years before the first book in the Abhorsen series, and the main character really loves the woods and loves being outside, and she's been forced to move to this city because of her mother's career. And I really just like the energy and the passages talking about how she wishes she could be outside again and be outdoors, because I very much have a similar feeling about nature, and I, having just moved recently, have been struggling with making sure that I'm spending enough time outdoors and enjoying myself. I probably spent way too much time working inside an office, inside a concert venue, and not enough time enjoying outside. So those particular passages have really been resonating with me. I also am continuing to enjoy the world building. It's kind of funny because the first three books in the series all sort of take place in the same time frame, so you have a better understanding of what the world is going through, what the current economics and politics are. And this one takes place 600 years before that, so it's stuff that is completely different than the first three books, and a lot of the precedents that was already set and built in those first three books are different, so you kind of have to learn about the world again and particular trending topics, and like how they view, for example, the king. In the first three books, the king is very important and runs the country, and in this particular book, the king has just he's not abdicated his power, but he's just given up, and his daughter, who is supposed to take over, is missing, and most believe she's dead. So he's just kind of given up and said, well, she needs to come back and take over. Because he stopped governing and stopped ruling, it has created an opportunity for the guilds, because there's different guilds for different tradesmen. The main character's mother is part of the goldsmith guild, and then there's a guild for the dyers, people who dye clothing, and a guild for the wine, people who create wine. So the guilds have now had the opportunity to sort of seize power for themselves, and so there's a lot of political machinations about who's seizing power and for what reasons. And if you're not part of a guild, if you're just a day laborer who doesn't have a steady income, there's a lot of unrest amongst them, and a lot of them are filing complaints and petitions to the king, and are kind of almost rioting in the streets and attacking guild members. But the main character is sort of slow to pick up on all of this, because she comes from, the forest, and she just moved to this city and is still learning all of these things, so you're kind of learning along with her. Really been enjoying Clariel. When I do read it, it goes quick. I did not read the first three books as quickly as I'm reading this one. The words are just flying by. I'm probably already halfway through it. And then I also started Memnoch the Devil by Anne Rice, which is the fifth book in the Vampire Chronicles. And I just started that over this weekend. I'm only a chapter in. It's again from Lestat's point of view, and he thinks that the devil is talking to him. So that's just in the first chapter you find out, so it's not really a spoiler. And he thinks that the devil's trying to reach him and trying to talk to him, and he's also become obsessed with this drug lord's daughter, who's actually a very pious and religious woman. Her name is Dora, and I have a feeling she's gonna play a bigger role I'm getting that vibe just based on the first chapter. And Lestat is planning to kill her father, who is this drug lord. So just first chapter in, and I'm enjoying it. I read the first, I think, 3 books of the Vampire Chronicles when I was much younger, so I feel like I don't remember all of the details of those very well. So sometimes characters are mentioned and I'm clearly supposed to know who they are, and I'm like, I want to do a quick Google search on that. I'm not entirely certain I remember that particular person. So that's where we're at with reading. I probably won't get much reading done today. I am on my way home from work now, and I am playing D&D later. So when I play D&D, I don't get any reading done, but I do get to exercise some imagination. In the current campaign, I am a bunny barbarian. So Wizards of the Coast recently, not too long ago, released a new book called Beyond the Witchlight, or The Wild Beyond the Witchlight, and it has a race in it called Harengon, or that's how I say it. I have no idea how it's supposed to actually be said, but I'm calling it Harengon. And they are basically a bunny folk, and I have a pet bunny, so I'm here for the bunny, and I just thought it'd be super kind of a cool dichotomy to play a bunny character, because bunnies are small and I'm small size. And as a barbarian who just gets super angry and can use their rage to fight evil. And my particular bunny character is very much based off of Judy from Zootopia. She is a bunny who grew up on a farm, so she's got a little southern accent, and she went to the city because she wants to become a knight. So we're doing lots of, I actually did already complete that arc of the campaign where I've become a knight of King Belethin, but now there's like this huge overreaching arc where the queen of the, I don't know if you would call it Feywild, but she's definitely a fairy queen, has awoken, and she's decided she wants to take over all of the mortal lands, which is of course part of the lands that my character and the party exist in. So we're working with King Belethin to try to stop her from her tyranny. So that's what we're doing tonight. I have been attempting to make more time for reading, just like in the random pieces and parts throughout the day. So one of the things I did is I don't always have books on me, because I do carry a book in my purse and everything. But sometimes I find myself in a mood or a moment where all I'm doing is I'm staring at my phone and I'm scrolling through stuff, and it's just too much energy to get up and go get my book to start reading. So what I've done is I actually downloaded Overdrive, and I logged into my library's account. And via my library, I can download the ebooks for a lot of the books that I'm already reading. So I've downloaded Clariel, I've downloaded Memnock the Devil, and that way, if I find myself on my phone, just, minutes, hours passing me by as I scroll aimlessly in a way that is not making me feel productive, it's not making me feel happy. In fact, I kind of feel worse about the world after having read about every horrible, awful thing that's happening. Instead of doing all those things, I can pull up a book and start reading a book. And I did this actually last week for the Once and Future Witches, which I read for book club. There's a local bookstore about 30 minutes from me that does fantasy book club. And so I bought their book, and I was reading it, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to download the book on my ebook app as well. And I started reading it on my ebook app anytime I started doom scrolling, and I actually read a fair amount on the app. I like having both the app and a physical book so that I can do both, because I like the feeling of a physical book more. But in those moments where I just can't be bothered to go get my physical book, it has been amazing to be able to pull up the book on my phone. And it's been, it's been very helpful to me in my reading goals. Another way it's been really useful is I actually find myself reading a lot during meals now. So like when I'm eating lunch or when I'm eating dinner or even breakfast, I'll pull up the book on my phone and read it on my phone. And I really want to buy one of those book stands where you can like put your book up and then I'm at a stoplight, so you can put your book up and then like it'll hold the pages open for you and you can read while you have your hands are doing stuff. So I could eat and read. That would be amazing. It's on my list to buy one of those. I just haven't pulled the trigger. I did actually like impulse become a member of the Barnes and Noble membership. So I get 20% off online now, so I should, or is it 10% or 20%, something like that. So I should just go ahead and buy it and cave to my desires, especially if I think it'll help me read more books, because I do enjoy my time better when I am reading, but for some reason, like sometimes you just can't get yourself out of this weird pit you're falling in where you're just doing things that you don't enjoy, but they're just so low energy that you just keep finding yourself doing them, and I would rather read. So yeah, that's the update for today, and if I read any more, I will give you some more thoughts and feelings on what I'm currently consuming. Weekly vlog update. It's been a couple days. I was really slammed. I worked yesterday in Wilson, one of the singers from Heart, and it was a really long and busy day, so I didn't get any reading done yesterday, and the day before their team had me running around making all sorts of last second changes, so I didn't do a lot of reading the day before that either. But I did finally finish, where is it? I did finally finish Clariel. I loved it. So I had actually read this in 2015 and completely forgot that I had read it and did not remember any of the plot or anything. So when I went into it, it was like I got to read it all over again for the first time. And it is basically a villain origin story from one of the villains of one of the first 3 books. I don't want to say which because it's a little spoilery. And you don't even realize it's a villain origin story until you're kind of like into it, and you're like, oh shit, and you are rooting for her the whole time. Like, what she does is completely justified, and she's been wronged in so many ways, and she is truly just trying to make things right in all of her actions. So I loved it, and I consumed it so quickly. I could not stop reading it. Out of the 4 Horson series books that I've read so far, this one's my favorite so far. I think I actually did give this one a 5 stars, just because my enjoyment of it was just so thorough that 5 stars it is. I also was listening to an audiobook. I don't count audiobooks in like my actual like book count for the year, because I've discovered about myself that I can only read audiobooks or listen to audiobooks of books that I've already physically read. There's something about audio for me that I don't take it in the same way that I do when I'm physically reading, and I can't keep track of what's happening. I lose my point and I have to go, continually rewind, re-listen to stuff over and over again, and I can only do it with stories that I kind of already know the story. So I don't count it in my total book count for the year, and that's okay. There are a lot of people out there that love audiobooks and they work great for them. There are people out there that listen to audiobooks at like 1.5, 2 times speed, and that's how they are able to read so many books, and that's awesome for those people, but I'm just not one of those people. But I was listening to Cinder by Marissa Meyer on audiobook, and I had read that book also years and years ago, and I have the like Stars Above is the name of it. It is I'm so sorry, this is my cat. Come on, Tato. I have the novel that is like the collection of short stories called Stars Above, and I've had it on my shelf literally since I read this series, and I never read this series, this short stories series novel. So I was like, you know what? It's been on my TBR forever, and I enjoyed that series. I'm gonna start reading it, and I started reading it, and I'm like 20% of the way through maybe, and I was like, You know, I remember most of the like overarching plot, but I'm a little fuzzy on a lot of the details. So I'm going to listen to the series again while I am reading the short story companion novel Stars Above. So I liked it. It wasn't anything groundbreaking. I think I definitely liked it when I was younger, and I liked my books less complicated. It was I think it was a good story. I don't think the writing was anything mind blowing or revolutionary, but it's just enjoyable. It's a Cinder's. I'm sure everybody on BookTube knows Cinder's a retelling of Cinderella, set in this sort of like dystopian-ish universe where, there's a colony on the moon, called Lunars, who are very powerful, and it follows this girl who is a cyborg in a world where cyborgs are treated as lesser, and she has a mom and two stepsisters, because she was adopted into that family by the father who is now dead, and there's also a plague called letumosis happening on this continent, and she gets wrapped up into some political affairs with the king of the commonwealth that she lives in coming to her and asking for her for assistance, fixing one of his androids, because she is a mechanic. That is what she does for a living, and it's like a it's I guess Cinderella retelling is very loose retelling. It's got the overall idea of Cinderella, but it's absolutely not true to the story of Cinderella. So yeah, I enjoyed listening to it. I downloaded Scarlet from my local library, and I'm listening to Scarlet now, which is the next book in the Lunar Chronicles. That's the names of these books, the Lunar Chronicles series. And I'm just gonna listen to that like in the car when I'm doing dishes, things like that. Nothing super crazy. And casually continue listening to that. I'm also still reading Memnoch the Devil by Anne Rice, and I'm only like literally two chapters in, and I know this is going to be a slow read for me. This is going to be like a chapter a day kind of book. Takes me the whole month to read, just because it just doesn't read fast for me. For some reason, I don't consume this kind of content quickly. I enjoy it. But it does take me longer to read this book than it takes me Anne Rice's writing in general than it takes me to read most novels. So just gonna take my time with it, enjoy it. No reason to finish it quickly. And then I also want to start another book, physical book, so that I have something else to read along with this, because I know that this is not the kind of book that I can sit and read for hours on end. So I put up a poll on my Instagram, and I've got 4 options, because I literally cannot pick between the 4 of these books. How to Do Nothing by Jenny Odell, Resisting the Attention Economy. I just saw this in a local bookstore, and I love it, because I'm constantly trying to spend less time on the internet, spend time not feeling like I need to always be productive, because I do have this feeling that if I do sit on the couch for a day and watch TV, that I wasted the day and I didn't do enough. So I really truly think that this is going to be a good book when I read it. It's going to make me think a lot about myself. And when I picked it up at the bookstore, there was this very first little, like, one of the little quotes after chapter 1. And it says, like, the little, like, star wakes up and looks at phone. Let's see what fresh horrors await me on the fresh horrors device. And it's a tweet from somebody that they quoted here. Let me see if I can zoom in close enough. But that was enough to make me go, I need this book, because how many times do I roll over, wake up, look at my phone, and then go, wow, the state of the world is really awful, and I feel really powerless to do anything about it. So I'm hoping that if I read this book, it will teach me some tips and tricks on spending less time on my phone and less time feeling like I need to be doing more and just existing. So that one's an option. Dune. I have somehow made it this far in life without reading Dune. I impulse bought a huge box set of all of the Dune books, and I think I'm going to finally do it. I'm going to pull the trigger. I'm going to read Dune. So it's coming up, but I'm not sure if it's exactly the next one yet. I will say on the poll so far, these two are tied. These two are the top contenders. But I also put on the poll A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I have had this on my bookshelf for ages, so fingers crossed that I get to it and I read it. I feel like everyone always has good things to say about this trilogy. So I like magic. I like fantasy. I think I'll like it. And then Book of Night by Holly Black, which I am a little conflicted about this because I love Holly Black. She was one of the first authors that got me into like Fae and Seelie and Unseelie courts and stuff with her her Modern Fairy Tales trilogy. And so far, I'm trying to not listen too deeply to other people's thoughts and opinions about it. But so far, every review I have heard has not had good things to say about it. So that's like breaking my heart, and I'm a little scared to read it, which I have to read it because I love Holly Black. I have so many Holly Black books, but I want to love it, and if I don't love it, I'm going to be sad because I love Holly Black. So yeah, those are the 4 books that I'm contemplating potentially reading next. So obviously by the time this video is posted, I will have picked one of them up. But we're gonna wait and see what happens. I next am going to start working. I'm gonna work from home today, as Anna Wilson's team put me through the ringer. So I need to get on my laptop. I need to mark up RuPaul Drag Race's hospitality rider, send the contract into legal, just some other miscellaneous things that need done before the end of the week. So, and then tomorrow, Sean and I are gonna go to St. Pete's Farmers Market, which is our first time going there, so I'm really excited. I also know there's a couple other cool things in St. Pete that I would like to stop at. I also plan to pack a basket, a picnic basket, and go on a hike and have a picnic maybe, hopefully. And I bought this book, I don't have it in front of me, but I bought this book that was like an impulse buy. It was like $10, and it has the best day hikes from Tampa, in the Tampa area. So I'm just kind of on a mission to go through all those hikes. So I'm hoping to maybe go on a hike. It is going to be really hot. It's going to be like in the 90s. But I'm starting to adjust, I think, to the heat and doing an okay job of handling it. So that's all I've been reading for now, and catch up with you here soon later. Vlog update once again while I am driving, because that seems to be when I have the most time to talk about books. This morning I got up, I did a workout. I was pretty groggy and slow to wake up, so I was a little late getting to the farmer's market, so I didn't have enough time to go for a hike after the farmer's market, but I got to wander around the farmer's market, and it was bigger than the farmer's market back home in Ohio, but smaller than I thought that it would be for like St. Petersburg. But I still had fun. Got a bunch of little tasty treats. I'll do a haul video when I get back. But I also started after the farmer's market. I was heading back towards my car, and I was intending to go home, and I happened to see across the street from the parking garage this really cute cafe that had like this gigantic outdoor seating area that was in the shade, and I just was like, you know what, I brought a book with me because you always bring a book with you, and I decided to buy a latte and sit down and read for a while. I ended up reading for a few hours, and I started reading the book that won the Instagram poll, How to Do Nothing by Jenny Odell. That came in first place. Dune came in second place. Book of Night came in third place, and nobody voted for A Darker Shade of Magic, but that is what it is. So I started reading it, and that book is changing my life. Holy shit. The concepts that it talks about are just concepts that I was aware of, and I know, but to talk about it in such detail, and it's very well researched. She references a lot of books and a lot of other authors and a lot of like social experiments and stuff that people have done. So this author definitely took her time writing this, but I'm literally like every other page I'm turning down a tab on every other page, because just the quotes and the things that this book is saying are just so profound to me. And it talks a lot about public spaces and how the amount of places that we can just exist are becoming more and more limited. It's like parks and libraries. It's like everywhere else is demanding some of your time, some of your attention, some of your money. Everything has become so capitalistic that just existing is becoming a difficult thing to do. And she also talks about how people even capitalize on resting and doing nothing and caring for yourself, because people see it as, well, if you take a break, if you rest, if you do nothing, then you'll be rested and ready to go and more productive when you get back at it. And she challenges the idea of doing nothing as a way to be productive, but just to truly do nothing, observe, and exist. And I mean, it's not a book about putting down your phone, about, taking in the world around you, not looking at your phone, because your screens are not necessarily the problem. It is the way that companies have monetized us looking at screens, and the way that apps are being built to be addictive that is the problem, not the screen itself. Because connecting with people and connecting with other humans is fundamentally part of our humanness and us being animals that exist in this world. So that's not the problem. It's the way that capitalism has made us using our phones a way for them to make money. And they've designed things so that it's not good for us. It's not good for our mental health to be constantly comparing ourselves to other. And there was even like I'll have to read some of the passages to you guys, but there was even like this one little passage about we need to reframe things instead of it being FOMO, fear of missing out, to be NOMO, necessarily missing out on things, because the constant have to do something all the time is not normal for us. And I'm only like 60 pages in, and I'm loving it, and I'm definitely I have a feeling it's gonna go down in my book history is one of the books that like shapes or changes my life, because it's that mind-blowing. So I've also started the audiobook for Scarlet, the second book in the Lunar Chronicles. So I listened to that on my way to the market, and some on my way home from the market. And I'm enjoying it. It's nothing, like I said, revolutionary, but it's just a nice, easy audiobook. It starts off exactly where Cinder left off, but it also is incorporating new characters. It is also sort of a quote-unquote retelling of Little Red Riding Hood, but like super, super, super loosely. I guess the closest it gets is it features this main girl who wears a red hoodie and she has a grandma that she lives with, and there's a street fighter named Wolf, and that's like where the comparison ends. Yeah, I'm having fun listening to that. I specifically took a different way home from the market. I took a longer way home so that I could go and drive over the Sky Bridge in St. Petersburg, and it was really cool. It's the first time I've gotten to drive over the bridge, and the first time I've ever seen the bridge. And all the bridges that go across the bay from like one side of Tampa to like St. Peter's, they're gorgeous, but the Sky Bridge is definitely like a different level because it gets up really high in that one area. You just have this gorgeous view. There were these bridges that you could pull off on, these like resting areas that were like fishing piers, and I wanted to do that, but I've been seeing some lightning out there, so I decided not to do that just because I don't want to be surrounded by a body of water when lightning is striking. But next time I definitely want to stop and just sit and take it all in and do nothing for a while. Yeah, so when I get home, I'll shoot a little clip of all the stuff that I got at the market. Nothing too crazy, very much farmer market type stuff. Definitely overpriced, but supporting, you know, local artisan bakers and things like that. So it's like a little treat yourself sort of situation. Yeah. Okay, we are here to do the farmer's market haul, all the things that I got at the farmer's market, which is not a crazy ton amount of stuff. It was more about the experience of walking around and just being amongst people in the outdoors. There were a lot of people with dogs and dogs in their own strollers, which was adorable and the content I'm here for. There was a guy who actually, because I'm wearing a Star Wars shirt today, stopped me and was like, "Did you see the last episode of Kenobi?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did." And we like talked about Star Wars for a little while, so that was pretty cool. And then it got weird because he started telling me that he's force sensitive and he takes care of himself and works out every day, doesn't drink alcohol because it helps with his force sensitivity. And I was like, okay, now it got weird. Have a good day, bye. But here's what I got. So I got kettle corn. I could eat an obscene amount of popcorn. So every time I see kettle corn at any farmer's market, I have to get it. Or specialty popcorn with like all the different flavors. I always stop at like popcorn shops and get the specialty popcorn because I just love popcorn. I got 10 bagels. So there's all sorts of different, I told them just grab me an assortment of flavors. So there's like everything bagel, there's an Asiago bagel, there's a onion bagel and everything bagel, but there was also, I found it, a rainbow bagel. Look at this. I don't know if it's because it's Pride Month or they just make rainbow bagels all the time, but I was like fascinated with this. So I was like, as long as you give me one of the rainbow bagels, just give me an assortment of other ones. So I'm sure Sean and I will be eating that throughout the week. I think, in fact, I'm going to make a sandwich with a Gardein chicken patty. Not Gardein, Morningstar chicken patty here shortly. I also got my little bag of goodies. Ooh, morning mint soap. So almost all of my soaps I get from like handmade, like local artisans. It's something that I've always done since I was young. Like I just stopped getting like the squeeze out bottle soap, and I started getting bar soap from like Ren fairs and things like that. I do find sometimes if I don't get a good one, it can be a little drying. So I have to go a little heavy on the lotion and make sure that it doesn't dry out my skin too much. This one has a shea butter in it though. So I have, and olive oil is like the main ingredient. So I think I'll be okay with this one, and it smells delicious. I love the smell of mint. It's very like clearing for the airways because I have some pretty gnarly asthma sometimes. So I'm almost out of my last bar of soap that I got from a local shop back in Ohio. So I can't go to that Ohio shop anymore. They probably have an Etsy or something like that I could get stuff from. But yeah, so this is going to be my next bar of soap. I also got, it's a little melty since I was sitting outside for a while, but I got a half a pound of sweet cream Havarti cheese. So I'll be using this probably to make some grilled cheeses, probably once it firms up a bit, maybe put it on some of those bagel sandwiches I'm going to be doing. But I have tried to go vegan several times, and cheese is always what does it for me. I can't resist the cheese. So I got myself some cheese. This is empty because I got little kish, I think it's Kish. I got several things of, or not several, but I got two little, they're like these little flaky pastries that are filled with like potato and stuff like that. So I got a potato cheddar one for me, and I ate it there at the farmer's market, sitting out in the grass, listening to music. And then I got Sean a potato cheddar jalapeno one, which when I got home, I gave to him and he ate like immediately. So that is what I got at the farmer's market. Tomorrow we're probably gonna go hiking. I plan to pack like little snacks, like a mozzarella and basil tomato sandwich and some fruit salad, and maybe go for a little hike. It's not gonna be a long hike. It's actually probably only gonna be like, actually, let me grab the book and I'll find out. Yeah, so I got this book, Best Easy Day Hikes, Tampa Bay. And I've kind of just been going through it. The last time we went for a hike, so it's got them listed here somewhere. Yeah, so it's got them all listed out right here. And last time we went for a hike, we did both of the ones that were on Weeden Island. So we're gonna do I'm actually gonna try and do them in order because I think that would be kind of cool. Because that was 1 and 2. And then number 3 is Sawgrass Lake Park. And it's got like a little, I don't know if you can hear my cat in the background, but he's losing his shit over nothing. It's got like a little like description of the hike and information you need to know, how to find the trailhead. And then it's got like a little map. So on this little map, it notes that there's several shelters along the way. So maybe if I pack something, put it in the backpack, we can go do this loop first, and maybe like on our way to doing this loop, stop at one of the shelters and eat our snacks to finish the loop, come back. It looks like it's only 2 miles, so it won't take us very long, but it'll just be something nice to get out of the house the first thing in the morning. I do think that my like emotions and my happiness level are directly related to how much time I spend outside. So I do try to regularly get out and about. So yep, looking forward to doing that hike tomorrow. And tomorrow will be the last day of the vlog, so I don't think I'm gonna finish any books between now and tomorrow. But if I, or the end of tomorrow, but if I finish reading anything at the end of tomorrow, I will update you guys on what I've read. Tonight I probably won't get too much reading done because we have D&D tonight. So right now I'm in 3 campaigns. I'm thinking about dropping down to just 1 campaign so that I have more time to do other things that I enjoy, because I love D&D and I love the social aspect and I love hanging out with people, but at some point it does start to become too much of like a commitment and an obligation. It takes a lot of time. So I'm thinking of just dropping down to 1 campaign, and that's gonna be the campaign that I'm playing tonight. So we just started it. My friend Pete is the DM, and my boyfriend Sean plays in it. So me and Sean created our characters together, and we used the humblewood. Humblewood is not like official content. Actually, I have the humblewood book here somewhere. Yes, I do. So here's humblewood. So it's basically, it's not official content, but it's basically like somebody wrote like a red wall almost. You remember that book Red Ball with the little mice? And they were like always fighting the rats, and it's just about all these animal creatures like going into battle and stuff like that. So our DM is okay with us using humblewood. Like it's compatible with 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. So our DM said he's okay with us using humblewood to create our characters. So he created, my boyfriend created a Mapak. I'm so sorry, my camera just died there. Anyway, my boyfriend created a Mapak, which are these little raccoon-like creatures. And his story is that he's from, he lives in like the snow peaks of the mountain, and they're in the mountain, they're very about like prophecies and you know, forecasting the future, and it's also part of their culture that they let nothing go to waste. Like, there's no trash. Trash doesn't exist because they just reuse everything. So it's making for an interesting dynamic. Him leaving the mountain and being in like a civilization as we follow our journey and our adventure in D&D, because he's just like collecting all sorts of trash. So he's forced to leave the mountains because one of the elders in his tribe see that he brings ruin upon them. So he has to leave. They like cast him out. And I am playing a Gerbine, which is a little mouse creature, like a mouse-like creature that my backstory is that I grew up in this tribe with him, and I think that I'm a Mapach too. I don't realize that I'm a Gerbine. I think that I'm one of them. I had floated down like an ice melt river in a basket, and they found me and they like raised me as one of them. So I'm hoping that some point in this campaign I get like a character arc where I realize I'm not really a Mapach, which I think would be really cute. But yes, so that's the one I'm thinking of continuing playing. And I think I'm gonna give the other two a break, and just go on hiatus for a little bit so that I have some extra time to do things that I enjoy doing. And I mean, if you think of it, I play D&D twice a week, because this is every other Saturday, this game, and then there's another game that goes every other Saturday that is like the Saturday that this game doesn't play. That's, if I play 4 hours a game and I play twice a week, I play on Mondays and Saturdays, that's 8 hours of my life every week that I'm spending on D&D. And I like other things, and I think I want to take a break doing that. So yeah, that's all I've got. I'm gonna have fun playing D&D tonight, and I'll update you guys later if I read anything before the end of the day tomorrow and how it's going. Hey there, last day of the weekly reading vlog. No matter what I do, there's always a glare on my glasses, so apologies, it's just glasses, people, problems, things. But I woke up today and I did a workout, and I decided to not go hiking because there is like a heat index warning. With the humidity, apparently it feels like 106 degrees outside. It would have been okay if I'd gone out and done it early in the day, but I kind of blanked and didn't do it very early, so here I am. I ended up staying home. I ended up just uploading and some videos and editing videos. So I did read a little bit more of Memnoch the Devil. We got some backstory to this drug lord that Lestat wants to kill, so we learned a bit more about details of his life, very, very detailed information about his life. So I'm now at, what, like 25% of the way through it, which is actually a quarter of the way through it, and not too much has happened yet. So that's kind of typical for Anne Rice to do a lot of expose before all the stuff starts hitting the fan. I wanted to read some quotes. So here are some quotes from How to Do Nothing that I was raving about earlier. I did tab so many pages. I tabbed down. So let me see if I can find some of the quotes that I really enjoyed. So this is the actual like very beginning before the book even starts. It's in the introduction. And it says, "Nothing is harder to do than nothing. In a world where our value is determined by our productivity, many of us find our every last minute captured, optimized, or appropriated as a financial resource by the technologies we use daily. We submit our free time to numerical evaluation, interact with algorithmic versions of each other, and build and maintain personal brands. For some, there may be a kind of engineer's satisfaction in the streamlining and networking of our entire lived experience, and yet a certain nervous feeling of being overstimulated and unable to stay a train of thought lingers. Though it can be hard to grasp before it disappears behind the screen of distraction, this feeling is in fact urgent. We still recognize much of what gives one's life meaning stems from accidents, interruptions, and serendipitous encounters, the off time that a mechanistic view of experience seeks to eliminate." And that just, I was hooked just from that very first paragraph. So a couple more. I don't want to like read the whole book to you. Well, I do want to read the whole book to you, but I don't think that I'm allowed to. This one's really short, but I really love this one. When overstimulation has become a fact of life, I suggest we reimagine FOMO as NOMO, the necessity of missing out. Or if that bothers you, NOSMO, the necessity of sometimes missing out. Which I very often find myself pushing myself to do things that I don't think deep down I want to do, because I don't want to miss out on things. I do often have a nervous feeling of, we have a limited amount of time. I need to do everything that I can with that time. So that quote, despite being very short, was very impactful to me. So this quote does require a little bit of context. Of earlier in the book, she talks about these gardens that she goes to a lot, these rose gardens that are a public park, and how the rose gardens almost became condos in, I believe, the 70s, and it took a lot of protesting for them to be saved. So she says, the very idea of productivity is premised on the idea of producing something new, whereas we do not tend to see maintenance and care as productive in the same way. This is the place to mention a few regulars of the rose garden. Besides Rose the wild turkey and Grayson the cat, who will sit on your book if you're trying to read, you are always likely to see a few of the park's volunteers doing maintenance. Their presence is a reminder that the rose garden is beautiful in part because it is cared for. That effort must be put in, whether that's saving it from becoming condos or just making sure the roses come back next year. We don't see maintenance as productive, but it's necessary for, and just the metaphor of the roses coming back next year. This book is wowing me. One of our most famous observers, John Muir, had just such an experience. Before becoming the naturalist that we know him as, he worked as a supervisor and sometimes inventor in a wagon wheel factory. Muir had already developed a love of botany, but it was being temporarily blinded by an eye accident that made him reevaluate his priorities. The accident confined him to a darkened room for 6 weeks, during which he was unsure whether he would ever see again. And then it goes on to say that, in a quote from Muir, who says, life was too brief and uncertain, and time too precious to waste upon belts and saws, that while he was pottering in a wagon factory, God was making a world, and he determined that, if his eyesight was spared, he would devote the remainder of his life to the study of the process. Muir himself said, this affliction has driven me to the sweet fields. I hope that I never get in a position where it takes a catastrophic accident for me to realize that I need to slow down and experience more of life. God, I'm like getting emotional reading some of these quotes to you because they're just so good. Okay, last one for now. So, in other words, digital distraction was a bane, not because it made people less productive, but because it took them away from the one life they had to live. Poswalski writes of their initial discovery, I think we also found the answer to the universe, which was, quite simply, just spend more time with your friends. So as you can see, I'm not terribly far along. That's page 52 out of 2, well, that actually ends there because this is all the citations. 206, so I'm 25% of the way through it. I'm mind blown. So I'm probably gonna spend the rest of the night reading. I need to watch Stranger Things, so I'm gonna probably cuddle up with a boyfriend and watch some Stranger Things. I do want to sit down and sit with my planner for a bit and try to plan out a little bit of my next week so that I feel like I am doing some things that I'm going to enjoy. I do want to schedule to get my haircut. It's kind of long, as you can see. So I want to schedule a consultation to get my haircut. I'm thinking of going like real punk rock and like shaving this side of it here, but I'm a little nervous. I want to schedule some workouts because I have more energy when I work out in the morning, but it's really hard for me to wake up in the morning, the eternal struggle. I want to make sure that I go to book club on Saturday. I am attending a book club with some friends. Not with some friends. I'm attending a book club at Tombolo Books in St. Pete, and I'm hoping to make some friends. We're going to be going over The Once and Future Witches by Alex Harrow, and I finished reading that a couple weeks ago, so I might like flip through it and try to refresh myself. that's it for this weekly vlog. I'm trying to think of some cool video ideas of videos that I want to film that are not like wrap-ups and TBRs for the month. Like something maybe like all the fantasy series I've read, or all the fantasy series I'm still in the midst of reading, because that's a lot of books. So, and I also am really slow at reading. I really only read like 4 to 5 books a month. So I'm gonna have to think about that. But if you managed to get to the end of this video, I doubt there's anybody out there, because I have a whole 3 subscribers and my video quality is not the best in the car, which I realized after I started editing. So I think I'm gonna stop car videos and I'm just gonna only do sitting in front of the bookshelf or sitting in front of the window weekly updates. But if you did get this far, put a little bear in the comments. And I will talk to you guys next week.